Oh, I gotta get them goats some more hay. I didn't know you were videoing me already. Is that okay to have that kind of lean like that? I don't want to keep stabbing it in the ground.
Just take the lean against this post.
Okay.
Closer to the post there.
Oh, I see. Hero, go. Go. Sit.
Sniffing it too much.
Sit. That's a good boy. You're not gonna... Hi, I'm Jessica. Welcome to Gather Together Homestead. So I'm going to start a series, probably call it something like So Many Uses. And then just as we live our daily lives, I'll start throwing out videos of what we're learning on the many uses of things that are right here at our fingertips. That's a new use.
For bedding too.
One thing that we have really enjoyed about our journey is all of the things that we're learning. And so these aren't things that I've known and used and practiced for years and years. These are things I'm learning right now. And so one of the things that I've learned is that so many things have many more uses than I'd ever imagined. And so I'm going to take you along this journey with me, share with you what I'm learning, and I'm anxious to get your feedback because I know if I tell you 5 things that you can use differently for one thing, you'll have 5 more. So I'm looking forward to all of the comments on these videos on how you're using the items that I'm going to talk to you about. And today we're going to talk about pine needles. So we have, let's see, like 4 pine trees there, and then a few sporadic throughout the property. Some along the creek are like the taller, skinnier ones, so they don't drop as much pine. But the ones that are along our driveway are the big, like fantastic looking, perfect, bushy.
Christmas trees.
Yeah, like the expensive Christmas tree ones. And so they drop a lot of pine needles. And in our books, we'll also probably talk about some books at some point. I know we've done that in our lives, but in some of our books that we've gotten, it talked about what to mulch your strawberries with. And one of the things that it mentioned was pine needles. So that kind of got this ball rolling here where I started looking into pine needles. And for me, that's perfect. We really appreciate the Back to Eden garden method. I love that whole documentary, all of the biblical references he has, and just, it's fantastic. So it's kind of along that line to use pine needles. Obviously, he talks about wood chips, but pine needles. So I went and raked up pine needles the other day and added them to our bedding, I guess mulching, for our strawberry bed. And then we ended up just filling this whole space. Now under the raised beds, we do have a weed barrier, just like we do in our garden. And then, but we went ahead and covered it just so that it was all kind of uniform in here. It was gonna get pushed over as we walked in there anyhow, just an extra layer of a weed protection. So some uses for pine needles that you may not know of. Strawberries, love them. They are slow to decompose. They also are really lightweight, so they're not gonna harm anything. They're a good weed barrier. And then as they do break down and decompose, they release, they make the soil more acidic. So strawberries, raspberries, and blueberries, from what I've learned, like that. So these are our raspberries and blueberries over here, bushes. So we were gonna mulch around them anyway. So it started with the strawberries, then went to the blueberries and raspberries, and then we said, why don't we just fill this whole place? It'll be a great weed barrier, and it'll be great. So we did that. Pine needles are so easy to rake up. I really expected, we'd had quite a bit of rain, and so I thought when I was gonna go rake these up that they were gonna be more heavy from the rain. So easy, so lightweight. It was a chore that I was not dreading doing on my own. And then Glenn ended up helping me finish this out. So outside of putting them as mulching around your plants, I wanted to know, what else can I use pine needles for? What shouldn't I use pine needles for? So I don't know a whole lot about fruit trees other than I like them and I want them and I love their what they produce. I learned when we moved to this property that there are certain trees that they don't do well by. And I don't know if it's a pine tree or a cedar tree, just something in the evergreen family. They recommend not being super close to them. I found that out because there is one, I don't even know what the tree is. Glenn, is it a pine tree? It can't be a pine tree, he doesn't have pine. Is it a cedar, that little one? Yeah, the one that's by our trees is different than that, but it is in the evergreen family, and we found out that they don't like that. So as we grow our orchard, we'll kind of grow the trees away from that, but pine needles aren't as well around your, to mulch in your fruit trees, because we have some new fruit trees, and I thought, well, I can mulch those. But I don't think it's gonna like kill them or hurt them. It's just not as beneficial. They don't prefer an acidic soil, so we did not put them there. But I found through this process that I like to do infused vinegar. You can do a pine infused vinegar. So you just take those pine needles, set them in vinegar, put the lid on, maybe like a mason jar, and let it infuse for 2 to 4 weeks. And now you have a cleaner. Glenn hates the smell of vinegar. Now you have a cleaner that's got a little bit different of a smell. It's not so vinegary. I've done lemon slices, lemon and lime, and then I've also done the orange peels, and it just kind of adds an extra scent to it. But also pine needles have antibacterial, antifungal, and antimicrobial properties, so you're kind of just amping up that natural, safe vinegar cleaner already. So that's another use outside of your bedding. If you have chickens, I'm sure you could put them in there. We really like to do the bigger cedar, pine mulch. I'm sorry, it's not cedar. Cedar's great, it's just expensive. We do the big pine mulch. But if there came a time where we weren't able to get it, or maybe it was too expensive, things were going up in price, we could always use pine needles. So that's nice. Obviously our dog likes it. He came right in here and laid down. So animal bedding is definitely an option. He just plopped right down. He's loving it. The other thing I found is pine needles are a great fire starter. So if you take some paraffin wax, put your pine needles with it, it almost looks like a little bar of soap, then you have a fire starter. You can take that camping or backpacking, maybe just the kids in the yard or whatever, but a fire starter.
Don't tell Hunter.
Yeah, don't tell Hunter, anybody. He'll be, where can I buy paraffin wax? I got pine needles, now I need the wax. I'll make that fire starter. The other thing you can use it for is if you're grilling. You have charcoal grill or maybe a smoker, whatever. Obviously, we're not going to put it in our pellet smoker. That would be trouble, I'm sure. But right before you put your meat on, go ahead and put those pine needles in, and it'll add an extra flavor to your meat. Probably, I think I saw like chicken and seafood is really well. I didn't see beef. I don't see anything that would be wrong with it, but chicken and seafood, I would give it a try. And soaps, you can use it as a, I think you would want to grind it up, but as a scent for your soap making. It's starting to rain. We're gonna have to wrap this up. There was a couple other things that I was gonna say. Shoot! Well, when I was, yeah, it was more along the line of the pine needles. But, oh, teas, you can make teas with it. So you can do like your infused teas, and there was some like cough syrups and salves and different rubs you can make. So a lot of crafty things with pine needles. But also, while I was getting the pine needles, there's pine cones everywhere. So I took the pine cones to our rabbits. Doesn't benefit them other than we just like our animals to enjoy the life that they have on our homestead. And so they got a little chew toy. They were really excited.
And also the branches off of the pine trees.
And the branches. So we haven't done this yet, but it is soon to come when I get a little saw and get up there. Supposedly, pine tree like branches, limbs, your goats, as they chew on them and eat them, is supposed to be a natural dewormer. So we are going to get some of our lower branches, maybe lift those trees up just a little bit, give them a branch here or there. I don't know, I haven't tried it, but I'm anxious to try it. So those are just a handful of ideas of kind of out of the ordinary, out of the box ideas of things that you can use your pine needles for. If you have a pine tree that's just sitting on your property, now you can have a use for it that is going to benefit your homestead that you may not have thought of. And We'll do some more in the future. If you have any uses for pine needles that I didn't list, please put it in the comments. We'd love to learn and just be making the most out of everything here on our property. If you like what you're seeing, please do like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll catch you next time.